I'm pregnant. Honestly, I was in such shock. I didn't say anything. I had like a million things going through my mind. Yeah, I talked to him and he says he wants nothing to do with it. He has no responsibilities. Like, this is not his problem. This is my problem. Hi guys, I'm Mar, and today I'm so excited because I have a little story time for you, and I can't believe I've never told you this story time. Honestly, I love doing story times, and that's something I want to do a lot more of, so please watch till the end because I have something to tell you guys about story times. And yeah, this is something that happened to me. Obviously, it was a long time ago. I like to pretend it was actually like 5 years ago because I'm 21, but no, this was a while back. It was when I was in school. I was actually a junior in school, and for me, school has always been kind of like a difficult place. I don't know if that's a word to use because I've been to so many different schools. Last time I did the count, I went to 11 different schools, I believe. But for my high school experience, I did go to pretty much the same school. I mean, it was kind of interrupted. I guess I could do a whole story time just about that. But when I was a junior in high school, I had a really close friend. Let's call her Michelle. And I had a really hard time because I did not like school, but also my parents, I mean, my life at home was not easy at all. And it was not easy for a lot of reasons, but also I feel like my parents just kind of wanted to make it extra hard for me. And one of the ways they made life very difficult was that they did not let me go out like ever. They wouldn't really let me go to friend's house or anything like that. So Michelle was like my only friend. And sometimes I could go to her house, but honestly not a lot. She was more allowed to come to my house, but I wasn't really allowed to go anywhere or do a lot of things. It was really hard. I mean, to be honest, I look back and I'm not envious of those days. I never look back and I'm never like, oh, to be young again or whatever, because honestly, it was very difficult. I was extremely depressed and it was just a hard time. But Michelle and I were really good friends and she was pretty much my best friend at school. And I've never been one to like hang out with really big groups. And also that school was pretty small. I mean, I think there was only like 30 people in my class, which is crazy, I know. So we started our junior year and a new girl came in, and let's call her Emma. And every time somebody would come into the school, I would make sure to say hi to them because I knew what it was like to be the new girl so much. So since I had been at this school for a little bit where I wasn't actually the new girl that year, I always make sure to say hi just to welcome them so it wouldn't be weird. Like if I was ever at a school for 2 years, the second year I was there, I would always make sure to greet whenever there was a new student, or if somebody came in like halfway through the year, I would always make sure to say hi to them because, you know, I knew that struggle. I knew very well what it felt like to be the new kid and to just like not fit in. So what would usually happen is that people would get into the school and I would say hi to them or whatever, and I would kind of like show them around and they would just kind of go their own ways after, and that was okay. I mean, I didn't expect them to be my friends because sometimes we just wouldn't really be that compatible. But with Emma, we actually got to be pretty good friends, and I got to the point where now it was Emma, Michelle, and myself. So it was like a group of 3, and I've always felt that I get along really well with groups of 3. I mean, I'm not really good with like big groups or anything like that. I don't know if this is just me, but friend groups of 3 just like work for me. So we're just like friends and stuff, but Emma kind of had more of like her own life. I mean, she was more outgoing for sure, and I'm not really sure if it was because she came from a different school. She also lived just like a little bit further than us. She also had more friends kind of outside school. I've always been a person where I'm very friendly, but I like to have like a close and intimate group of friends. I mean, that's just how I am. I'm an introvert, so I'm like, okay, 6 people is definitely way too much. But Emma wasn't really like that. I mean, she could hang out with us, and then after school, she could be hanging out with like 10 different people. To me, I was like, after school, I'm chilling, I'm gonna be on YouTube, and I just don't want to talk to anyone because my social battery is drained. But at some point, Emma met this boy, and let's call him Peter. And honestly, I didn't really like Peter, and I know that sounds really bad, but he was older than us. So we were in school and he had already graduated school, and he had like a group of friends that would just pretty much not really do anything. This was a group of people that they would just like hang out. And you know, I was just in school, but I've always had this feeling that I just needed to do something with my life. And then there was this group of kids that just weren't doing anything. And to me, they weren't even kids because they were like full-blown adults. They had already graduated high school. I mean, when you're in high school and you meet someone that's already done with high school, that to you is like an adult. That's like, okay, sir, grandpa. And then here's Grandpa Peter doing absolutely nothing, just hang out in some corner, just waiting for his high school girlfriend to get out and hang out with him. Now looking back at this, it's pretty sad. So Grandpa Peter had this group of friends, and among this group of friends was this other guy. I'm gonna call him Dave. Dave. So let me just tell you, I just liked Grandpa Peter, but I definitely did not like Dave. I mean, Dave, I didn't even really know them. I only knew them from like stories. I hung out with them like once and I was like, I feel like I'm wasting my time here. What are we really doing? We're like standing around some like empty street. It just wasn't my vibe. I like hanging out in an empty room by myself. So Peter and Dave were friends and Peter started dating Emma and eventually Dave started dating Michelle. And honestly, that sucked. I was like, wow, there go my friendships. Because at this time I was single and ready to mingle. Actually, no, I wasn't that ready to mingle. I was like, I'm single. I was like 15. I was fine. I mean, it's seriously perfectly fine to be a single 15-year-old. But I guess to the other 15-year-olds, it really wasn't. Because my friends Emma and Michelle were like, oh my God, we gotta help you get yourself a man's girl. And I was kind of like, I'm okay. I'm cool. I'm chilling. You know, if someone wants to manifest themselves and knock on my door, then that's okay. And if not, I guess then they're missing out. At this point, I feel like we kind of naturally started to grow apart because Emma and Michelle would hang out a lot more and they would hang out a lot more without me because A, I couldn't go because my parents just wouldn't let me go anywhere. And B, they have boyfriends, so they were like cool like that. I met Gordo maybe a few months after this. So see, he did just manifest himself. And you know, I was sad that my friends were kind of hanging out with me and they just thought I was some loser because I didn't have a boyfriend. But I was also kind of going through a lot of personal things, so I just stayed in my room and on my computer and I was like, it's fine. It wasn't fine, but you know, it was fine. Then one day we were in class and the teacher just didn't show up. So we were just had like an empty period and we were just kind of hanging out. I don't know if this happens at your school, but it happened a lot at my school because it was a very bad school. I swear I could tell you guys so many stories about that. And all of a sudden Michelle starts crying, but not like crying like a little tear. No, she was like full on bursting into tears. And I was like, what's wrong with her? And she starts saying that Dave is being so different towards her, that he's demanding so many more things. And I mean, Michelle had a lot more freedoms than I did, but still we were just kids in school. So it's not like she could do whatever she wanted. And I guess he expected her to do whatever she wanted. I don't know. And she says that she'll do anything to save her relationship. And I'm just like, girl, save your relationship. What relationship we talking about? I mean, she was acting like she had been married for 20 years. I felt like she was being way too dramatic and I probably wasn't as good as a friend as I could have been. Because I was just like, let's get rid of this man. Just put him in the trash and let's move on with our lives. So the next day, Michelle doesn't show up at school at all, which was weird. I mean, she would usually tell me, or if she was sick, she would like shoot me a text or something. But then she calls me after school and she's like, please come to my house. I need you to come over here. And she sounded really bad. Like she sounded distressed. And I was just like, okay, I guess I'll try to come over. I mean, if they let me, but I mean, whatever's wrong with you, I hope it's not contagious. And I thought this way back when, before we're in the middle of, you know, everything we're going through right now. So they gave me permission to walk on over to her house. It was literally walking distance and I could never go. I feel like that's not really relevant to the story, but it's just like so absurd. I kind of have to mention it. So I get to her house and I see her just literally laying there. And she looked really swollen. I mean, she wasn't crying, but she looks like she had been crying a lot. And I was kind of like, what's wrong with you? I mean, seriously, just get over this man. And now obviously I feel like I could have been a better friend because I was kind of like, okay, just move on with it. Just get over this. Come on, get up. What are you doing? Don't be stupid. That's kind of like the type of person I am though. I mean, whenever something kind of bad happens, I'm just like, let's keep going. Let's keep moving. Let's go. Which I've learned A, doesn't work for everyone, and B, doesn't work with every scenario. But I was 15, okay? She wasn't really saying anything to me, so I didn't really know what to do. So all I did was hold her, like give her a hug. And when I did that, she started crying, but she started like bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, what's wrong with her? And as I was holding her, I was just kind of stroking her. She pulls away from me. She gets up, looks me dead in the eye and says, I'm pregnant. I mean, just like thinking back at that, I was like, my stomach dropped. Honestly, I was in such shock. I didn't say anything. I had like a million things going through my mind. And I know it sounds bad because I'm sure she had a million more things going through her mind, but I didn't know what to say. So she said something to me and she said, I don't know what to do. So when she said that, I said, well, did you talk to Dave? And she said, yeah, I talked to him and he says he wants nothing to do with it. He has no responsibilities. Like, this is not his problem. This is my problem. And that's why yesterday I was so upset because he told me that yesterday. And I mean, I was not surprised. So he basically told her that she just needed to take care of things and get it done with. And I was just so confused because I just didn't understand how Michelle had gotten into this because it just didn't really go with her personality. I mean, her boyfriend didn't go with her personality either. So I asked her and she said that Emma had told her that she had been doing that for a long time with Peter and that nothing had happened and then that's what she needed to do to make her boyfriend happy and to keep her man around. And that's just so upsetting to hear. I mean, even as I'm telling you guys this this story again, that somebody would feel pressured to do things that they're not really ready, or that they're not really educated enough to do, or that they are responsible enough to like handle the consequences just because a friend told them to. But that happens. I mean, it happened to my literal best friend. I also asked her if she told her parents, and she said she hadn't, but that she wasn't planning on telling them because she was just gonna get it taken care of. I don't really know how to say that in a way that doesn't sound like so cold, but also in a way that we don't get demonetized. So there you go. Thanks, YouTube. And personally, I felt that it wasn't my place to tell her what to do or my opinion. I just felt that it was my place to support her and be a friend, whatever her decision was. So that's what I told her. I told her that no matter what she wanted to do, I would be there for her. But I thought she should really tell her parents because, I mean, there was no actual way of doing what she wanted to do. I mean, it wasn't legal, so you had to do it kind of underground, and that could have really bad consequences. So the next day, Michelle didn't come to school either, but Emma was there, and I was like, why? Why did you let this happen? Because, I mean, I was blaming her, and obviously she wasn't to blame, but kinda though. And all she said was like, oh, well, he knew she didn't want it, so why did she go and do that? Like, it was all Michelle's fault. Like, Michelle had done this on purpose or something. And I mean, obviously she didn't, but she was getting blamed for all this somehow. So then, of course, I was still worried about Michelle, so I went to her house to check on her. And Emma was there with her, and they had made like this shake. And I don't know how, I don't know where they got the recipe for this. I mean, I was not a part of this, but it was the nastiest, most stank shake I have ever seen, I have ever smelled, I have ever laid eyes upon. And I live in LA. We're obsessed with kale here, so that's saying a lot. But they had the shake and they were like, oh, the shake is gonna take care of things for you, don't worry about it. And they also had some pill that Dave had bought. I don't know where he got this pill, but you know, he was a grown-up, he had access to the goods. That's what we thought, because we were 3 idiots. And that was such a surreal feeling for me, because I just felt that it was all so wrong, because no matter what would happen, a life would be affected. No matter what. I mean, there was just no right decision there. And I just felt that all I could do was watch and try and help my friend and support her. But my feelings or my thoughts didn't really matter. They were completely irrelevant. All I felt was like, I told you guys not to date these men, but nobody listens to me ever. So then Saturday comes around and I get a call and it's Emma, and Emma is like frantically crying. I couldn't even understand what she was saying. I was like, she's pregnant too. But then she tells me that Michelle is bleeding a lot and that she didn't know what to do and she was just so stressed out. Could I come over? I was like, girl, I'm not a doctor. And honestly, I couldn't come over. I had been to Michelle's house like 3 times that week. There was no way my dad was about to let me out, and definitely not out on the Saturday. So I told her, you have to tell her parents. I mean, this is serious. So I did end up telling Michelle's parents and they rushed her to the ER. I mean, I'm assuming that when you have such a big problem, like you have your daughter that's like bleeding, when they tell you the reason as to why she's bleeding, you're probably in a big shock, but you're just more focused on getting her to be okay. I don't know, that's just my assumption. It was pretty bad, but the baby ended up being okay. And I think that made Michelle kind of re-examine things and just think about what she wanted to do with her life and with the baby and everything. And she ended up having a beautiful baby girl. Let's call her Kiki. But honestly, life for Michelle was completely different after that. I mean, Dave was never in the picture. They're not even in contact at this point. He is not part of Kiki's life. He was not there when Kiki was born. And you know, I don't feel like Michelle has had it easy. She ended up leaving school. She did not have her senior year with us. And the senior year for us, like where I went to school, was a year where you had a lot to do, where you had to like apply for colleges if you wanted to go to college. Most people that went to school with me did not end up going to college. I mean, I went to college. I know for a fact Michelle wanted to go to college and she didn't go to college because, you know, she had responsibilities. She had Kiki, and I think the reason why they ended up taking her out of school, because I think I said that they took her out of school, was of course it was hard, you know, having the baby and everything, but also people were just talking about that so much. It was like, ooh, that's the girl that got pregnant. So yeah, that's the story. I'm not really in contact with Michelle anymore, but you know, last time we talked, I know for a fact she wouldn't change Kiki for the world. I mean, she's so happy being a mom, but still, I mean, it was a hard thing to go through. But yeah, guys, I wanted to tell you guys a little something before the end of this video, and that's that I really want to start kind of like a little story time section where I do a lot of story times on this channel. And what I thought would be fun to do is to have, of course, my stories, but also your stories. So I have this email right here set up, and you guys can send stories there and I can just kind of tell the stories. I personally love just like listening to story times or watching videos about story times when I'm cooking or when I'm doing my makeup or whenever. So I feel like this will just be a really fun way to interact. You guys can send in your stories and I can just share them. And I already have some stories that I want to share with you guys, and what I'm going to do is just kind of tell the story and of course give credit to the person that shared the story or that originally told the story or that wrote it, you know, so that way we can have fun but also give credit where credit is due, because I think that's so important. So yeah, let me know if you guys like this idea. Maybe it's a terrible idea. I think it'll be really fun. It's something new. I haven't really seen this, so I don't know, maybe it sucks. Maybe it's just, man, you just need to delete delete my whole channel and just call it a day. But yeah, I'll also be posting my regular content, but I also want to add this because I think it'll be fun. But yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye!